Hi, this is another edition of Spectre, and I'm D.S. Yoxheimer. And I guess, considering what's been going on, it would almost be inapropos if I didn't talk about the sex scandal rocking Hollywood, as it were, since Harvey Weinstein has stepped down from Miramax due to allegations of sexual harassment and rape by a number of actresses, as well he should. The one thing I guess that does, because all these other accusations, everybody from Louis C.K., which is one of the bigger ones, he jerked off in front of two female comedians in around 2002 during in Colorado during the Comedy Fest in, I think, Aspen Comedy Fest or something like that. Comedy Festival, which what's about, so that's nearly about 13, 14 years ago. That happened, and I don't condone it. I do not condone it. I guess, but part of me just is I don't think that the women who stepped up in the case of Louis C.K. particularly, who came forward, because I heard this story about a year ago or more through a comedian named Jen Kirkman, who didn't name Louis C.K., it was in an article or something I read, said that there was a really famous comedian that was forcing female comedians to watch him whack off. It's not funny, but watch him whack. It's kind of... I'm a fan of Louis C.K. I'm disappointed that, in him in some regard, because I was a big fan of his comedy. As much as I am Kevin Spacey, I was a Kevin Spacey fan, very, upset about his behavior. Of course, I don't think it's defensible behavior or anything like that. But with Louis C.K., and some of these other ones, they're just very, somebody grabbed somebody's ass 10, 15 years ago. Apparently, George Bush Sr. grabbed a 16-year-old's butt or something, allegedly, when they were taking some picture back in 2003, because he's probably, and I'm sure he's a pervy old guy, but you can't let the miserable old buzzard, die in peace. He's going to be dead in like a week, probably. I mean, for Christ's sakes, I don't defend the Bushes at all. I think they're horrible, fucking awful people, and I think George Bush Sr. probably had JFK fucking killed, but hey, we're not talking about, this isn't a JFK conspiracy, video. So, what I will say about Louis is that it was very wrong what he did. I would say it was lewd and lascivious behavior if it only goes to the extent of him masturbating in front of people, and there were some more incidences of this, I think. He was trying to ask some other women to do this, and he asked the women, this comedy duo, if he could, whip his dick out or something, and they laughed. And they came up to his room and stuff like that, and I'm not saying that, you should have given him permission to do what he did at all, but I think that matter could have been handled a little differently. I mean, that's something his kids now have to take the brunt of it too, because he has young children. So I think they handled it very poorly. I don't think those women were courageous. I think they were trying to elevate their visibility because they're not that famous. And I know it's not some people might think that's kind of sexist of me to say that, but I think it's very true because now everybody's doing it. And it's not brave to do it now that everybody's doing it, now that it's fashionable. It would have been brave 5 years ago if these women came out against some of these actors and producers and directors. It's not brave now. And I know this sounds very sexist and it might come off that way, but it's true. It's not brave when everybody's doing it. It's not brave when it's fashionable. And they know the news and the media is going to be saturated with this because that's what gets people attention to these sex scandals. Even though we've had 2 mass shootings that not even being talked about or discussed in any way, shape, or form. And I hate the misogynistic, sexist fucking culture in just period, everywhere, in the workplace, in professional sports, in our schools, and in Hollywood. I don't like it. However, there's more important things going on, you know, and I don't think, because the way I look at Harvey Weinstein is he was the abusive mob boss, and all those actresses were trying to get in on organized crime through him. And they knew he was a rat bastard, they knew he was a sexist prick, but they went along with it anyway so they could make a lot of money. So I know that's horrible of me to say that in some people's eyes. You know, I might come off as being unsympathetic to them, and I'm not unsympathetic to the actresses who were physically raped by Harvey Weinstein. However, if you know you're meeting this guy in hotel rooms and you're meeting this guy, period, if he wasn't who he was, you wouldn't have had anything to do with him in the first place. So that's kind of how I look at the whole thing, the whole Hollywood scandal around Weinstein and basically the whole Weinstein thing. And as for the rest of them, it's another thing where it's fashionable, you know, and like everybody left and right is coming out with this stuff, and it's like, oh, we're going to talk about another actor or actress who was molested or sexually assaulted by somebody 15, 20 fucking years ago. It's like, well, why did you wait till now? I mean, some of these people, they're up in the business, they have money and fame and influence now. They could have come out with it like years ago. Anthony Edwards says he was supposedly, you know, sexually assaulted by somebody, and he could have mentioned this years ago. He has a very, you know, pretty prolific career, and all that, and it's not like he couldn't have said this back in the 90s or the 80s or anything. It's like, well, now you can say, you know. But now, oh, it's brave. They're being brave now. No, they're not being brave. They're doing something because it gives them some publicity. It makes the public, who most of us don't make that much money. That, you know, we don't live like they do. We don't fly around in private jets. We don't drive a Bentley. We don't live in a mansion. Empathize with them more. Because, you know, because it is difficult, I mean, let's face it, to empathize with people who are super wealthy and shit like that and make a lot of money to remember some lines and hit their mark. So I know that it's not, perhaps I'm coming off as a bit, well, jaded, I am. I'm so sick of our celebrity-driven culture where people think we should take our cues from celebrities all the time, and take our cues from any powerful, high up, you know, notable people, religious figures, you know, people like Joel Osteen or whatever. You realize what a son of a bitch he was when he locked up his fucking church during the floods in Texas. Was it? I don't even know I can't remember what hurricane that was. But he locked up his Lakewood church when there was flooding, and you know, because I guess that's what you do, you know, because he's a rich Christian guy. He lives in a big mansion somewhere, with his kind of Christian wife, and he's just some shallow, rich, narcissistic asshole. He doesn't give a fuck about anybody but himself, and that's what most of these celebrities, they don't give a fuck about anybody but themselves either, and all they care about, just like politicians and everybody else, all they want to do is line their pockets. They don't give a shit about anybody, you know, so I don't give a fuck what happened to Ashley Judd or any of these other people who are whining and complaining about it. You know what? You're in the business, you're making the big bucks, and you knew it was a sleazy business when you were getting into it, okay? Don't come whining to me, you know. I make less than $15 an hour, and I don't have health insurance. So I'm sorry if I don't completely empathize with you because someone was sexually inappropriate with you. You know, if the worst thing that ever happened to me is Kevin Spacey whipped out his dick and bribed me by giving, trying to pawn off his $5,000 watch, I'd say, hey, great day, I got a $5,000 watch. But hey, that's my perspective on it. I know it's kind of offensive or whatever, but This has been another edition of The Spectre. I'm DS Yoxheimer. If you like my videos, subscribe below. Take care.